Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Was Betrayed and Leaves Konoha, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
The two Jinchuriki dug their feet into the next tree branch, pushing off with massive force and soaring high above the treetops. Naruto then saw the clearing ahead, which the red flare seemed to be hovering over. Beneath it, in its red glare, was a man, the bandit Naruto had let live to contact the bandits' leader. The man was alone and shivering inside a tent to shelter him from the rain. It looks like my message was delivered after all, Naruto thought to himself. Even though he did not see Yugito, he knew that she too was focused on the clearing and the man inside the tent as well. For her part, Yugito cast a quick glance at Naruto and she saw a sly grin on his face. The sight of his stoic, yet strong and handsome face sent a shiver running down her spine and then throughout her entire body. And what confused her was, it wasn't necessarily a bad shiver. She actually liked that fierce and savage look on his face. It meant he had a firm grip of himself and that he takes no orders from anyone and would do whatever the hell he wanted. She desired that in a man. Someone who was aggressive and passionate and wasn't afraid to get their hands dirty. Nibby noticed this as well, her tone laced with amusement, as she noticed the light blush on the face of her vessel. Oh, are you getting the hots for him, kitten? Yugito's blush deepened for a moment, before she silently hissed back at her demon. Shut up, you stupid cat. Don't blame me, I just call them as I see them. Casting another quick glance at him, she looked away before he could feel the sensation of her penetrating eyes upon him. I have no idea what you're talking about. However, Nell had noticed the strange glances that Yugito kept sending towards Naruto. And being an inquisitive child, asked her adoptive father a question. Naru-kun, why doth the cat lady keep looking at you so funny? A bit taken aback by this question, Naruto stammered in response. I don't know, Nell-chan, I didn't know she was. This answer did nothing to quell Nell's curiosity about the situation before her eyes grew wide as saucer plates and she gave a startled declaration. Oh, I know what it is. Hey cat lady, are you still thinking about being Naru-kun's new wife-chan? For the second time that night, a simultaneous squawk of surprise erupted from the two Jinchuriki and could be heard for miles around. Nani? Below, in the clearing, Daisuke, the man who Naruto had threatened with death, looked up as he thought he heard a startled shout and thought to himself. What was that? Daisuke wore a dark muscle shirt that fit well against his muscular frame, along with long baggy pants that were already soaked through with rain. Strapped to his back was an enormous shuriken, easily twice the size of the one Mizuki had worn, and it was apparent that only one such as he with his titanic strength could wield such a weapon. But strength or no, he was still very nervous as he peeled back a strand of brown hair, long and unruly much like Kiba's hairstyle, which was now wet and soggy, as he pulled the hair away from his black eyes and he peered about into the rain, looking for any sign of the missing nin. What if he did not show? Leader Sama would think he had failed, and he had no desire to fail. He had to show up. His very life depended on the presence of this, unimaginably, powerful nin he had described to his boss, who had given him the benefit of the doubt and allowed him to come back out here to extend to the man an invitation to meet him. Or was it a he? No one had ever seen the face of the leader, nor did they know if a woman or a man led them. She was always wrapped in a dark robe and wore a face mask distorting her voice, thus further obscuring the identity of the powerful leader of the mighty gang known only as the Crimson Blades. But when he had mentioned the name of Naruto Uzumaki, he had visibly seen a difference in the way leader held himself. I want you to bring him to me. I wish to meet him. Those had been the specific words of the leader, and everyone in the Crimson Blades knew that she did not tolerate failure. So, for some reason, he decided to look up into the sky, and just as he did, he saw two black shapes in the air, one of which had a very familiar sword strapped to his back. Is that him? Something in his gut told him yes. There was no way you could mistake the dark energy that even from this distance, was emanating from him, making his blood run cold and his tan skin go pale. It is. With a startled yelp he leapt back, his sandals sliding in the mud and bringing him to his knees. No sooner had he moved, than, the two specks of black rocketed down to earth, one of them landing right where he had been mere seconds before, shaking the ground with the impact. As Naruto rose to his feet, his mask now donned and making him a truly fearsome sight to behold. Despite the rain that was clouding his vision, Daisuke could tell by that mask. It was him. Naruto's yellow-black eyes bored deep into the startled black of Daisuke's, as he rose to his feet and said, "It's a good thing you did as you were told. I knew you were smarter than you looked. Tell me, did you set up a meeting between your boss and me?" "Hi Naruto-sama, my boss does wish to meet with you and has ordered me to escort you to our encampment," Daisuke humbly replied, before he noticed Nell and Yugito and asked, "Who are the brat and the babe?" A second later, a hand was wrapped around Daisuke's throat and he felt his large frame lifted into the air effortlessly, as Naruto growled out, "The brat and the babe are with me. And if I ever hear you refer to them by those names again, it will be the last words you ever speak." My apologies Naruto-sama," Daisuke stammered in a choked voice. After a moment, Naruto released his hold and Daisuke fell to the ground in a heap. Rubbing his throat, Daisuke looked over to see Nell sticking her tongue out at him and giving the bandit a raspberry, while Yugito glared menacingly at him. Daisuke gulped nervously, as he could feel a great power radiating off the statuesque blonde. The Crimson Blade bandit made a quick mental note of not to piss off this woman in the future. It was then that Naruto's metallic echo of a voice cut through the air once more. "So when do we go see this leader of yours? What is your name?" My name is Daisuke Naruto-sama and we will see the leader tomorrow, as soon as the escort squad arrives to take us to him." "Very well, that works for me. My companions and I are weary and could use a good night's sleep. And it will be nice to get out of this accursed rain for a while." "My apologies Naruto-sama, but I did not know you would be traveling with companions since the last time I saw you. I'm afraid the tent I brought is only big enough for 2 people to occupy." "That's not a problem. Nell-chan is small and can sleep in between Yugito-chan and myself." Yugito felt her cheeks blush a bit at hearing the suffix, chan, added to her name. But where will I sleep Naruto-sama?" Daisuke questioned. Naruto released a slight bit of killing intent and his eyes flashed from the yellow and black to crimson red before he declared in no uncertain terms, "You won't be needing any sleep, as you will keep watch during the night. You don't have a problem with this, do you Daisuke?" "And no Naruto-sama, I don't have a problem with that." Daisuke stuttered as the pressure of Naruto's killing intent made him weak in the knees. The Crimson Blade bandit then made his way over to a tree to try and get some shelter from the rain, while Naruto and his companions entered the tent for a well-deserved rest. It was late in the morning and the rain had finally ceased, as Naruto and the girls finished breakfast when the blonde missing nin sensed several chakra signatures approaching. Motioning to Yugito to be on alert and watch over Nell, he waited patiently to see who was coming. A few minutes later a voice from the forest called out in an annoyed tone, "Is he here yet Daisuke, this demon, of yours?" "Hi Sasuke, he's here." A moment later several thug-like men emerged from the forest followed by a tall man with long red hair and dressed in a formal red kimono. A look of disdain marred his features, as he beheld the threesome, his arms hidden in the folds of his robe and crossed over his chest. "So this is your demon. He looks like any other man and by the looks of him not a very strong one." A few of the men surrounding Sasuke snickered at that comment before Daisuke shot him a glare, annoyed at the perpetual arrogance of his comrade. "You would be wise not to make him angry, Sasuke. He took out my squad in less than a minute flat. I'm sure he would do the same to you, in half the time." Naruto arched a blonde eyebrow and silently mused. There seems to be some bad blood between these two. Once again, the robed man known only as Sasuke, looked upon the ragtag group and now his dark eyes focused on Yugito and Nell, who stuck out her tongue at him. "Who are these two?" Daisuke made no mention them. Naruto finally spoke now, his voice dark and ominous as he put his mask on, sending a nervous shudder through Daisuke, who had witnessed the fearsome power of this rogue nin firsthand. "They're with me. I met him only recently, after I dealt with your little group of bandits." Naruto's tone left no trace of guilt whatsoever, but still Sasuke was unfazed. "And what make you think you are worthy of joining the Crimson Blades? Surely you don't think senseless slaughter will get you anywhere." Yugito rolled her eyes, as Naruto reached for the hilt of his blade, his right hand clenching and unclenching as he did so. "Great, that idiot is going to piss him off and he's gonna start a fight." The Nibi vessel thought to herself. But as Naruto gripped the handle, he paused, and his gaze met that of Daisuke's once more, ignoring the rant of Sasuke. "What did your boss say?" Daisuke, now recovering himself, reached into the waterproof pouch he kept at his side, his hand trembling slightly from both fear and worry, as he opened the pouch and groped around for something within it. Leader Sama has expressed interest in you and would like to meet you, preferably in person. Does that include my 2 comrades? I won't leave them behind. Daisuke paused at that and then, with a sneering glance at Sakaki, shrugged his shoulders. I don't see any reason why they can't come along. Sakaki frowned at this and spoke once more in a sneering tone. Wait a moment, I never gave you permission to. Sakaki suddenly found himself stifled, as Naruto drew his sword and held the large blade to the throat of the pale man, his eyes gleaming with murderous intent. I'm growing tired of you, so silence full, unless you wish to be deprived of your head. Sakaki paled even more, looking white as a ghost now. You would not dare. Try me. Naruto hissed venomously before adding. I've dared to do a lot of things lately. One more wouldn't hurt. A murmur passed through the gathered thugs, as they looked from Naruto to Sakaki, as no one's ever done that to Sakaki before. Naruto now turned to Daisuke and gave a small nod, as the muscular bandit found what he sought, a brown piece of parchment. Give it to me. Naruto sternly ordered. Daisuke did so, tossing the wrapped box to Naruto, only for Nell to snatch it out of midair and hand it to her adoptive father instead, who still held the blade to the throat of Sakaki with murderous intent in the eyes of the robed man. If you kill me, Leader Sama will not allow you. Sakaki wasn't able to finish his sentence, as Naruto snarled and Naruto moved the blade to the left and with a hard tug in that direction whipped it around, giving the man a nasty gash that traveled from his chin to his shoulder blade. Immediately, it began to bleed and with a horrified scream, the man placed both hands over it, in a vain attempt to stifle the blood loss. Annoying worm. Naruto hissed, as he sheathed his weapon and looked over the contents of the package he had been given. Several of the men rushed forward to tend to the wounds of the pompous fool, who was now writhing in agony, his body convulsing on the ground wildly, as he twisted every which way in pain. Your arrogance will now serve as a constant reminder. If you live through this, that scar will haunt you for the rest of your days. Turning to Daisuke, he saw the smirk the Crimson Bandit was leveling onto Sakaki and mentally made a note to consider recruiting this one. Let's go, I don't have all day to waste with these fools. I have an errand to run first before I meet with your boss. You may accompany me if you so choose, Daisuke-san. But before they could make any move to set out, it was there. All of a sudden, right out of the blue, he felt a very familiar chakra signature and he hissed in surprise, just as he heard her footsteps and thought. It can't be. Hinata. What the hell is she doing here? Then, bursting out of the trees, the Hyuga girl made her grand entrance, sword drawn and held at the ready. But as soon as she saw him, mask and all, it dropped from her fingers, to clatter onto the muddy terrain. Her eyes grew wide with recognition, and with a sharp tug, she pulled down the mask that she wore, exposing her lovely alabaster face, as she spoke with tears welling in her soft lavender-colored eyes. Nah, Naruto-kun. Is that why you? Time seemed to stand still, as Naruto ever so slowly turned to face Hinata, his yellow eyes gleaming out from behind his mask. For her part, Hinata's eyes widened in recognition of him, her sword clattering to the ground with a clang. The arrival of the indigo-haired beauty sent a murmur through the ranks of the Crimson Blades, who briefly paused their tending of Sakaki's wound to look at the beautiful woman standing before them. Whoa, who's the babe? Seemed to be the prevailing thought with most of the bandits. Daisuke was equally thunderstruck by the curvaceous beauty before him, despite the fact that she was pretty much ignoring him and everyone else present save for the blonde Jinchuriki. Daisuke saw the pleading and loving look she was giving Naruto, but then frowned as he saw no reaction whatsoever from the rogue nin and thought to himself. Does he know her? Is she going to join up too? Judging by the way she's giving him those baby doll eyes, she certainly knows him. Then Sakaki was remembered, and with a regretful sigh, Daisuke ordered his bewitched men to get back to work, patching up the rather nasty gash Naruto had dealt the unfortunate man now unconscious from blood loss. Daisuke, I want some privacy. Naruto sternly ordered. As you wish, Naruto-sama, hurry up and move, you idiots. Leader Sama won't tolerate an unnecessary death even if it's a fool like Sakaki. With a groan they set about moving Sakaki off into the distance, ignoring the shriek of pain from the robed man while they did so. As one man inserted a threaded needle into the bleeding wound and began to stitch it shut, threading the pointed tip in and out with slow and careful precision. Ow. OWWWWW. But Hinata paid no attention to the departing gruff man, the bandits, or the wailing Sasuke, as she pulled down her own mask revealing her lovely face, which looked like that of her angel. An angel who was now seeing her first true love in a new light, a light of pure joy at seeing that he was alive and unharmed. Naruto-kun, is that you? Hinata asked, her soft and gentle voice sending shivers through him, as he suppressed the urge to run to her, take her in his arms and hold her tight. He was forcing it down, with sheer willpower, barely rooting himself in place, as his body suppressed a shudder as well. What is she doing here? She can't be here. Not now. Were the thoughts that raced frantically through Naruto's mind, desperately trying to uphold his calm facade and demeanor, but secretly thankful for the mask that hid the anguish on his face. Had his visage not been blocked, Hinata would have seen the uncertainty reflected in his eyes. She might have reacted to that and taken the initiative to hug him or even kiss him, as she had long ago to assuage his doubts and fears. If Hinata did that, Naruto knew he might crumble, and showing such emotions would ruin his plans, and he could not allow that. Meanwhile, Yugito eyed the strange woman warily. The former Cloud Kunoichi instantly recognized the features of a Hyuga, and her brown eyes filled with suspicion of the girl. However, before she could act or say anything, Nell chose that moment to speak, as she gazed at Hinata with curiosity. How do you know Naru-kun? At this, Hinata felt a small smile light her face at hearing confirmation that she had indeed found Naruto, but she could still feel the thick tension in the air. So it is you, Naruto-kun, was Hinata's happy chirp, as she took a step forward. Unfortunately, the response from the man she loved was not what she had been expecting, as she suddenly met the business end of Naruto's blade. Its deadly point held less than an inch from her face, causing Hinata to stiffen and tilt her head back a bit, followed by a hesitant step backwards. Naruto had drawn his weapon at an inhumanely fast speed and was making it clear to Hinata that he saw her as an enemy. You're a long way from home, what are you doing out here, Inuzuka-san? Naruto hissed venomously, as he glared at her before adding in a spiteful tone of voice. Are you here to bring me back? Here to fight me, like everyone else? Maybe you thought because of our past, that I would meekly follow you back to the village, or maybe enter an ambush set up by the Anbu, or perhaps your loving husband. Upon hearing how he addressed her and the words he said, a chill went up Hinata's spine and a sense of guilt and pain rushed through her body. Naruto's mention of Kiba and the glare he leveled onto her even through his mask broke Hinata's heart. The former Hyuga heiress missed the way Naruto used to look at her. The way Naruto would speak softly to her when she was sad and when she was lonely. The way Naruto always supported and comforted her. Hinata felt sick to her stomach in realizing her marriage to Kiba had forever changed Naruto. She'd always believed Naruto would forgive her, and the old Naruto that she used to know would have. However, this new Naruto she had helped to create was different. He wasn't forgiving, he wasn't warm, comforting, and reassuring. That meant she'd lost Naruto a long time ago. That meant Naruto had been over her for 3 years and had been very angry and bitter towards his thoughts on her, while she never wavered in her thoughts of love for him during that same time. A look of sadness appeared upon her face, as she stared down his blade, her soft lavender eyes gently peering into his, as if silently trying to convey how sorry she is for hurting him before finally speaking in a voice filled with guilt and sorrow. Naruto-kun, if you're happy away from the village, then so am I. I would never fight you or betray you by leading you into a trap. Naruto's hand trembled a bit at the mournful tone of Hinata's voice, and like his hand, his blade also trembled, causing it to lower an inch, as his resolve was beginning to waver. However, an image of Hinata's wedding day flashed across his mind, and his resolve quickly hardened again, and he held his zanbaku too firm, his soulless eyes boring into her soft and caring ones, as he angrily spat with vicious sarcasm. Nice to know one betrayal is all you can inflict upon me, Inuzuka-san. If you're not here to lead me back to Konoha like a puppy on a leash held by you, then why are you here? Surely you didn't come just to exchange pleasantries with me. Yugito did speak now, her tone calm, yet masking the anger and confusion beneath, as she muttered under her breath. You know her. Her fellow Jinchuriki nodded, never taking his eyes off the Hyuga, as he spoke, venom still laced in his voice. Hi, I know her. At one time we once spoke of getting married, but that was before she decided to move up the social and political ladder of the Leaf Village and marry the heir to one of the great clans of Konoha. Hinata looked down to the ground in shame, while Yugito frowned upon hearing this and becoming more vocal now asked in angered curiosity. Why did you leave your village anyways? Is she part of the reason? When he spoke, the pain was clear in his voice, dark and deep, like the night. Hi, she's part of it but not all of it. I was betrayed 3 times by people I loved and who professed to love me back, but they were all lies and what's worse is I. Naruto paused to regain control of his emotions and a visible effort, clenching his free hand into a fist, as he added in a shaky tone of voice. And what's worse is I allowed each betrayal to happen like the fool I was, that's all you need to know. Yugito stifled a gasp at this, and when she looked at him, as those normally hard and arrogant eyes were now filled with sadness and loneliness. Yugito knew that look oh too well and turned her head to gaze at Hinata with hate and anger. Meanwhile, Nell had looked up at her adoptive father and she too noticed and felt his sadness before she instinctively jumped up onto his shoulders and hugged Naruto's head to her body. Giving him a gentle squeeze, she spoke in childlike innocence soft words to only be heard by him. You're not alone Naru-kun, Nell is here too now. Naruto was at a loss for words and knew not what to say. He barely even knew this child and here she was being kind to him. He was rendered speechless by her simple words and kind gesture. Hinata felt the killing intent Yugito was leveling on her and finally noticed the statuesque Jinchuriki, and as soon as she saw the blonde, clad in her torn and ruined outfit, she thought the worst. Naruto had already found someone. Nani? Who's that? Is she? Hinata dared not think the rest. Naruto snatched away from her by this gorgeous blonde. The thought was too much to bear. However, as much as Hinata wanted to drive these thoughts away, Yugito's appearance did little to help in that endeavor. The former Cloud Kunoichi's outfit was indeed in tatters. The form-fitting clothing had been torn and shredded at the waist, revealing her tan stomach, exposing her curves, and accentuating the dip of her waist. The lower portion of it held, fitting snugly against her rear, but as it reached her knees, it seemed that the legs of the fabric had been torn away by a ragged edge. The upper portion of her shirt was relatively intact, but still the fabric clung tightly to her well-endowed chest that could almost rival Hinata's ample bosom. All in all, she looked like an Amazon, fresh out of the rainforest, a goddess on earth, and here she was with her Naruto-kun. A tick mark appeared on her head and she released her own substantial killing intent onto Yugito, as she pictured the two of them together, in all sorts of activities. Yugito seemed to realize this as well, and with a humph of disdain, her brown eyes bored into the pale lavender of Hinata's, who put her hands on her hips, as did Yugito, the two kunoichi staring down each other with fierce intent. Hinata could see the disdain in them, held for her, as the Jinchuriki shot her the mother of all death glares. To which the young Hyuga girl returned her own deadly glare towards the Nibi container. Just as Yugito was about to step towards Hinata, she was cut off by a glare from Naruto, which stopped her cold, the sight of his yellow-black gaze rendering her speechless. Wait before you pass judgment. I still have questions to ask of her. Looking back to Hinata, Naruto reached up to his mask and removed it, giving Hinata a look at the face that she loved so very much. Naruto lowered his blade and with a flip of his wrist tossed it up into the air. A second later, he twisted his head to the right, allowing his weapon to slide into the sheath he wore on his back, with a loud clink. Nell was eyeing Hinata with intense curiosity at seeing how she affected Naruto before her eyes lit up and she asked her adoptive father. If the lady with the pretty eyeth going to be a wife-chan for you Naru-kun? Hinata's face turned beet red just like when she was younger, whilst Naruto guffawed in shock for the second time his energetic adoptive daughter had said such a thing. Wife-chan. Hinata sputtered, as the dream she had held for such a long time of being Naruto's wife raced through her mind once again. A small sigh of happiness escaped her, as Nell had inadvertently brought up one of Hinata's fondest wishes. Turning around, the Hyuga girl gazed lovingly at Naruto. Unfortunately, much to her distress, the look he directed towards her was cold and unyielding before he saw her right hand and the lack of something that should have been there. Where's your ring? His words were a murmur, but still they were heard by Hinata, whose eyes widened, as she remembered what she had done to the small gold band. Of course, how could he not notice that? Hinata thought to herself before realizing this was an opportunity to make her intentions known to him, the reasons for leaving her home, to pursue him, to finally explain everything to Naruto once and for all. Taking a step forward, then another, and when he did not make any move to draw his weapon, she steadied her pace and kept striding across the muddy terrain until she was less than a foot away from him, her eyes gazing deep into his, as she looked up at him. I threw it away, Hinata sternly declared without hesitation before she saw him stiffen, and knew that she had now crossed the point of no return. Now she had to continue lest Yugito do something, or she falter in her resolve. You did what? Was Naruto's surprised query, as Yugito eyed Hinata warily. Hinata turned her face away from his for a moment before speaking, a light pink blush upon her cheeks as she spoke, softly at first, then with ever-strengthening resolve, every word, every syllable increasing her confidence tenfold, as her tone, ever kind and loving, grew firm, before she finally looked back at him, to find him patiently listening. I want you, you and only you, Naruto-kun. I only want to wear your wedding band, not Kiba's. Hinata sees Naruto bristle and look away at the mention of her teammate, but she calls out his name, drawing his cold gaze back to her. Naruto-kun, listen to me. I threw it away. I threw Kiba away. I left the village to find you, because I want to be with you. Inhaling a deep breath, Hinata spoke the words she never thought she would have the chance to say again, at least not to his face. The words were forceful, and shouted right to his face, stunning him with their intensity. Damn it, Naruto-kun, I love you. At those last three words, Naruto's visage softened a bit and he let out a tired sigh, as he placed his right hand upon her right cheek, causing her to nuzzle her face into his open palm before he pulled his hand away and said, You don't get to say that to me, Hinata, not after what you did 3 years ago. You destroyed me. Why should I even believe you? I watched you give without protest your hand in marriage to Kiba and the promise of a life with you. That was something I valued just as much as the title of Hokage. What did you think? That a bullshit declaration of love from you and that I would fall to my knees in gratitude and we could pick up where we were 3 years ago? Sorry, but that ain't happening. I'm not taking you after you went through all those things with Kiba, and gave him everything I wanted. It's not bullshit, Naruto-kun, I do love you, I always have, even during my marriage with, and I always will love you no matter what happens. Hinata softly spoke in a choked voice, as tears began to stream down her face. The sadness in Hinata's voice and the tears she shed tugged at Naruto's heart, and he did not like the feeling, as he angrily responded. Even if that's true, then why, Hinata, why? If you've always loved me and still do, then why did you obediently agree to marry Kiba in the first place? I did it to save my sister and Konohamaru. Hinata shouted back through her tears and anguish. What? Naruto said with bewilderment. Looking up at Naruto's confused face, Hinata exhaled a heavy sigh to try and calm herself before speaking once more. I married Kiba to save Hanabi and Konohamaru, Naruto-kun. When my father and Kiba first approached me with the arranged marriage, I vehemently refused. Even when my father threatened to have me branded with the caged bird seal unless I agreed, I still told them no and informed them I would marry you and only you. This angered both my father and Kiba greatly. My father because Kiba had paid him a great deal of money for my hand in marriage, and Kiba because he wanted me so badly. They then informed me that if I didn't go through with the arranged marriage to Kiba, then Hanabi would be required to take my place and she would be branded with the caged bird seal so Kiba could control her. Naruto literally fell on his ass onto the ground in shock at hearing what Hinata had said before she continued on. If you remember, Naruto-kun, Hanabi and Konohamaru had fallen in love with one another at that time and promised to marry when they reached legal age. I couldn't let my father and Kiba destroy their happiness. So I relented and agreed to the arranged marriage, even though I knew that in saving Hanabi's happiness, I would be destroying my own. Why, Hinata, why didn't you tell me about this? I could have helped, we could have done something. Naruto asked in a hurt and angry voice. What could we have done, Naruto-kun? If Lady Tsunade couldn't help me, then there's nothing you could have done. I couldn't tell you the truth back then because my father and Kiba said if I did then they would follow through on the arranged marriage with Hanabi. They also said if you found out the truth they would make sure to hurt you. I would rather die than ever see you hurt, so I agreed to the marriage to save them. We could have run away together like I wanted. Naruto offered up in response. And leave behind my sister married to Kiba and branded, as well as Konohamaru heartbroken and alone. I know you love little Kono like a brother, so tell me, Naruto-kun, could you have really done that to him? Naruto still felt and remembered the pain when he lost Hinata 3 years ago, and though he loathed to admit it, he wouldn't wish that kind of pain on an enemy, let alone someone he cared about. However, before he could contemplate further on everything, he heard Hinata comment. Hanabi and Konohamaru were married 2 weeks ago. It was a wonderful wedding and they both are very happy. They said only thing that kept the wedding from being perfect was that you weren't there to attend it, Naruto-kun. Naruto merely sat on the ground silent and unmoving with a stern yet reflective visage he bore upon his face. After a few minutes, Hinata could no longer take the silence and said, "Please Naruto-kun, say something to me. Please tell me you understand why I did what I had to do to save Hanabi and Konohamaru." Exhaling a mournful sigh, Naruto finally looked up and stated, "I understand Hinata, but you still should have trusted me and told me what Kiba and your father were doing 3 years ago. It wasn't a matter of trusting you. I would trust you with my life, Naruto-kun. It was a matter of I didn't want to see you hurt by my father or Kiba, don't you understand? I understand Hinata, but you don't understand. By not telling me what was going on and then watching you get married hurt worse than any physical pain your father or Kiba could have ever inflicted upon me. You were my angel, the one who saved me and showed me what real love was like after my foolish time with Sakura. Losing you nearly destroyed my heart, Hinata, and what was left of it, Ino finally killed a year later. I'm sorry, I know I hurt you terribly, but I thought I was doing the only thing I could to save the people I love from being hurt. I never stopped loving you, Naruto-kun. Even during my marriage my thoughts were unfaithful, because I only wanted you. If you no longer love me or even hate me because of what I did, I understand, but I will always love you, Naruto-kun, and that will never change." A pall of silence seemed to envelop Naruto and Hinata like a shroud. After a few minutes, Naruto finally exclaimed in frustration, "I don't know what you want me to say, Hinata. I don't hate you, I could never hate you, but I don't know if I still love you. I don't know what love is anymore. I once thought I did, but after Sakura, you, and Ino I came to realize I never knew. After that, I decided emotions like love only caused me great pain. So for the last 2 years I've made it a point to shut down foolish emotions like trust, happiness, and love. You say you still love me, but I'm not the same man I was 3 years ago. So how can you still love me? You're just clinging on to the fantasy of what I was not what I am. And what I am now is someone who doubts he can ever love anyone again. You should just go back home, Hinata, and forget you ever found me. You're wrong, Naruto-kun. I know the man I've always loved is still inside of you, but I won't try and make you love me. I don't have a home to go back to anymore, but I won't stay if all I cause you is pain now." Hinata then wiped some tears out of her eyes before walking over to retrieve her mask, sword and supplies, as Naruto watched her with concern and doubt. It was then the Kyuubi no Yuko decided to speak his mind on the matter. "So what are you going to do, kid? Just let her leave." "Shut up, Fox, it's for the best." "For the best you say? Well, let me refresh your memory of what your former vixen has done. She's deserted her home, family, and husband just to find you. Which means she's now a fugitive who will have not only her 2 clans after her, but also hunter nins from your village trying to track her down. By her leaving because she doesn't want to hurt you, she will be all alone attempting to avoid all of those mortals trying to find her. Or better still, we're not that far from Kumogakure, maybe they will capture the vixen and turn her into a breeding machine so they can gain her bloodline trait like they've always wanted. What should I do?" Naruto thought with confusion, as the fox demon had given him pause to think about what he had said. The Kyuubi no Yuko thought his vessel's musings were amusing, but it soon turned boring and was growing quite irritating to the demon fox. So he took it upon himself to flash several images throughout Naruto's mind. One image was of Hinata being tried by the Konoha Council for treason. Another was an image of Hinata beaten and in chains and being dragged back before her father and Kiba. And finally an image of a naked Hinata strapped to a table in Kumogakure with a line of several Kumo shinobi moving towards her. This final image caused some red chakra to flare off of his body, startling everyone as he growled out in fury. "Kyuubi. Oh, shut up and just take the vixen with you and be done with it. You aren't going to leave her alone with all of those dangers out there and you know it." Kyuubi grumbled in annoyance. "Hinata, stop. It's too dangerous for you to be out here on your own alone. I'm making you no promises about what will happen between you and me, but if you want you're welcome to accompany us," Naruto called out. Hinata's response was instantaneous and before Naruto could blink he was suddenly enveloped in a fierce hug. After a moment, Hinata realized what she had done and released him almost as quickly as she had grabbed him and stammered. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I shouldn't have done that, but I would very much like to accompany you." It's all right, Hinata, but you do remember what I said about no promises?" Naruto replied, a bit taken aback by Hinata's hug. I understand, but just so you know, I believe you still have the capacity to love and be loved. You just need to find it in yourself to let love back into your life. And if you will let me, I would like to be the one to help you find that love, Naruto-kun. So enthusiastic was her reply, that when he looked back down at her, for the first time in many a year, he smiled. And it made Hinata's heart skip a beat, as he hadn't smiled in over 2 years, and that one brief grin filled Hinata with hope that all was not lost with her Naruto-kun. Yatta, I have another wife-chan to play with, Nell exclaimed with excitement, as she clapped her hands gleefully before running up to Hinata and jumping into the Hyuga woman's arms for a hug. Whilst this took place, Yugito gave Naruto a sidelong look and asked in a bitter tone of voice. You sure this is a good idea? I don't know, but she's coming with us, end of discussion. Naruto hissed through his teeth, his blue eyes locking onto her brown. Whatever, Yugito derisively snorted, as she looked away, clearly not pleased at the addition of Hinata into the group. Ignoring Yugito's attitude for the moment, Naruto called Daisuke back over and asked. So, care to follow me on this little errand of mine, before you take me to see your boss? Daisuke rolled his massive shoulders in response, as he saw the look in the eyes of his potential comrade, the look of adventure. Sure, I could use a little fresh air, and it's better than listening to Sasuke bitch about what you did to him. Looking to the now fully treated Sasuke, Daisuke waved his large hand in farewell and laughed when he saw the angry look on Sasuke's face before saying, Don't wait up. I'll see you back at base. Then he turned to follow Naruto and the others. Elsewhere, undisclosed location. I seek an audience with your master, Sasuke said to the servant who had opened the door to him. Begone, Master Byakuya left strict orders not to be disturbed. Tell your master it is Sasuke Uchiha of the Uchiha clan from the land of fire. And I invoke the blood pact the Kuchiki clan and the Uchiha clan made years ago with one another to seek his audience. The servant shut the door and Sasuke patiently waited. A couple of minutes later, the servant returned and Sasuke was ushered into the castle and led to a great hall and told to wait. Moments later, a man with long onyx-colored hair and wearing intricate white headpieces called Kenseiken that symbolized his nobility as the head of the Kuchiki family, one on top of his head and another on the right side, entered the room. Sasuke noted that the man bore an appearance and demeanor which reminded him of his older brother, who addressed him in a stoic voice. So, Sasuke Uchiha of the Land of Fire, for what reason do you seek an audience with me? Thank you for seeing me, Lord Byakuya. The reason I've sought an audience with you is that I need a sword that can kill a demon, and I've been told the Kuchiki clan can provide me with such a weapon. Indeed, a most unusual request. Come with me, Sasuke Uchiha, we have much to discuss. As Naruto and company made their way through the forest, he pondered a great many things within his mind. The appearance of Hinata was most unexpected, and even more surprising to Naruto was learning of why she was there. Of finally learning the truth of why she married Kiba and hearing her confession of love for him, while realizing all she was willing to give up just to be with him, had actually given Naruto something, a notion he thought he discarded long ago. Hope. She had given Naruto a sense of hope that he had not felt in a long, long time. Naruto thought he had given up on love completely after what he had endured back in the village. But, now he began to wonder if he could open up his heart to love once again. Of course, Nell had unknowingly begun the process, but Hinata's arrival had definitely cracked through the hardened exterior of his heart. Hinata had not pressured Naruto in any way and promised to give him the time he needed to see if he could ever love again. That giving nature of Hinata was one of the many reasons why he fell in love with her so long ago. However, Naruto also knew he still felt some anger and pain for what Hinata had done. She should have trusted me, I could have done something. What I don't know, but something. I know she honestly believed she was protecting me, Hanabi, and Konohamaru, but still the image of seeing her at the altar next to Kiba, damn it all to hell. Naruto struggled in thought. Even now, as he looked over to Hinata as she carried Nell in her arms while making funny faces at the young girl causing her to squeal with laughter, Naruto didn't know whether to smile or scowl at the scene. Turning his gaze to his other companion, he noticed Yugito staring intently at the scene as well. But her look was not one of amusement, but the same look of disdain she had held for the Hyuga heiress since she first met her. Naruto inwardly sighed, as he knew he would need to have a talk with Yugito about Hinata at some point in the near future. He realized Yugito's tension in regards to Hinata was his own fault, as he had invited Hinata to accompany him and they left almost immediately after his reunion with his one-time love. Casting a glance at their final companion, a man by the name of Daisuke, who was a member and acting liaison to the bandit gang Crimson Blades, Naruto's gaze narrowed dangerously. A small growl erupted from his throat as he noticed that Daisuke's vision seemed entirely too focused on the swaying backside of Hinata. Pervert. Not one to stand for this, Naruto quickly unsheathed his zanpakuto. In an instant it was leveled at Daisuke's throat. His voice was dripping with malice as he held it there. He asked, "Are you enjoying the view, Daisuke?" I don't know what you mean." The bandit nervously stammered as he stared down the length of Naruto's blade, practically about to piss his pants in fear. Naruto was not someone you lied to. His tone turned eerily calm, yet Daisuke could feel the anger, simmering just beneath the surface, ready to erupt. "Let me put it to you this way. If I catch you looking at any of the women in my party like that again, I'll keep my promise about Ayami. You got that?" Daisuke looked to the ground and nodded his head quickly in understanding, as the memory of what Naruto was capable of was still fresh in his mind after witnessing the violent destruction of his squad by this blonde shinobi. Grunting, Naruto sheathed his zanpakuto, while both Yugito and Hinata glared menacingly at their bandit companion, until Naruto's voice rang out and said, "There's a small clearing up ahead, we'll rest a bit before we make the final trek to where we're going." "And where are we going?" Yugito asked in slight annoyance. He flashed her a small grin. "I'll let you know when we get there, Yugito-chan." Yugito blushed slightly after hearing this and quickly turned her head to the side, hoping no one noticed, as that had been the first time Naruto had used an honorific with her name. Hinata felt a twinge of jealousy stir within her after hearing Naruto, but she remained in control. She knew all she could do is give the time she had promised to Naruto and let him come to grip his feelings that he had shut off so long ago. In a way, hearing Naruto use the honorific was a good sign even if it wasn't for her, as it showed that maybe his heart was beginning to thaw if just a little. Hinata just hoped that she too could once again become a chan in Naruto's heart as well. Back in Konoha, one Kiba Inuzuka was fuming with anger as he angrily packed his shinobi supplies into a bag. The object of his rage was someone he once considered a close friend and comrade, one Naruto Uzumaki. But now the mere mention of his name was like bile in his throat, as this one person was the sole reason in his mind why his marriage was failing. Kiba was going to retrieve his wayward wife and Kami have mercy on Naruto if he gets in his way because Kiba would show him none, as he growled aloud, gnashing his teeth together violently. "I'll make you pay, Naruto, I swear I will. So this is Naruto's fault, I take it." Kiba spat a curse as he nearly jumped out of his skin. Gah. It would seem that once again, he had let his guard down. "Care to explain why Hinata leaving is Naruto's fault?" Came the monotone question of Kiba's longtime teammate and best friend Shino Aburame standing in the doorway of the Inuzuka home, leaning against the door, arms crossed over his chest. Kiba nearly vomited at the mere mention of his former friend. As it was, he spat on the nearby photo of them, back when they were genin, before violently smashing the glass frame with a kunai. As the shattered photo fell to the ground, he whirled on Shino. "Of course it's his fault. Who else would it be?" If possible, Shino's tone became colder. "Hinata's. Take that back, Shino." Kiba roared in anger as he whipped out a kunai and pointed it towards his teammate. "I don't say that to hurt you. I love Hinata as much as anyone, but Naruto didn't force her to go after him when he left the village." He paused to let his words sink in, and when he was certain that Kiba would not attack, he continued. "She made that choice all on her own, Kiba." "Choice? What choice? She's my wife, god damn it." Shino shook his head sadly. Truly, he felt pity for Kiba. "But she doesn't love you, at least not in the way you want her to. She has and always will be in love with Naruto, and I'm sorry but there is nothing you can do to change that." Kiba looked away, hiding the sadness etched into his face. "You knew this when you and her family forced this arranged marriage that her heart belonged with him, yet you still went through with it." Kiba refused to move as Shino pushed himself of the door, and strode forward, until he had rounded the room, and was staring the Inuzuka square in the eye. "Why Kiba, why did you do that to Hinata when you knew it would break her heart?" "Because I love her," Kiba replied, as he slumped to the floor, hands on his knees, tears pulling in his eyes, before adding, I thought that she would eventually get over and forget about Naruto and love me as much as I love her." Once again, the Aburame proved to be the voice of reason. But she didn't, Kiba. And for the last 3 years I've watched her go through the pretenses of marriage with you while a little more of her spirit seemed to die with each passing day. I've also watched you treat Hinata cruelly by your words and actions you've committed during your marriage. So is it really so surprising that she finally decided to leave you? He turned to go now. I'm truly sorry, I care about the both of you, and I know what I'm saying hurts. But you know it's the truth, and if you care at all for Hinata and her happiness, you must let her go. Yet, just as he was about to exit, hand on the doorknob, Kiba exploded, violently shouting one word. No. Shino froze and turned round, tone echoing his surprise, his facial expression hidden by his coat and glasses. What? Rage was plastered over the Inuzuka's face. I said no, Shino. I won't give her up. Then, as if he was talking to himself, he went on slowly pacing about the room as he did so. She's just confused is all. I know she can learn to love me. I just need to give it more time. Sure, I could have treated her better, but I got sick and tired of her always moping around. If she couldn't give up her love for Naruto for me, then I've got nothing to feel guilty for about the things I've done or said to her. Abruptly, he stopped, and clapped his hands together with finality. So I'm leaving tonight to bring Hinata back whether she likes it or not. Shino snorted in exasperation. Clearly his friend was blinded by jealousy. Whether she likes it or not. Listen to yourself, Kiba. Do you really want to continue a marriage based upon force? He now stepped forward, and with a rare expression of anger, shoved Kiba back a step, growing more agitated by the minute. Do you honestly believe that keeping Hinata in such a way will make her love you? It hasn't worked so far. Kiba's immediate response was to shove his friend right back. I don't care what you have to say or think, I'm getting Hinata back, that's all there is to it. Menacingly, he reached for his weapons pouch. Are you going to try and stop me? Kiba spat as he grabbed his supply bag and walked towards the door. Shino shook his head. No, Kiba, I won't try to stop you. Kiba sighed in relief. Thanks, Shino, I didn't want to have to fight you. Wish me luck. I cannot, Kiba. Even if you succeed in this endeavor of forcing Hinata to return, this will end badly for you no matter what you do. Shino said while shaking his head. Kiba merely scowled at his friend before calling out to Akamaru, and Shino watched his longtime friend and dog disappear into the night. Meanwhile, across town a young couple's relationship was coming to an end, as Kiba made his way out of the village in search of his wayward wife. I don't think we should see each other anymore, Shikamaru stated to his distraught girlfriend of 2 years, Ino Yamanaka. However, it was not his statement that had caused Ino to be distraught. When Shikamaru had arrived at the Yamanaka home, he had found Ino in this depressed state, and this had not been the first time. Over the past 2 years, whenever Ino had fallen into such a saddened state, it usually involved or was about one Naruto Uzumaki. Shikamaru knew instantly their encounter with his friend and Ino's ex-boyfriend had shaken the girl badly. As much as he wanted to hate Naruto for Ino still loving him, Shikamaru found he couldn't. None of this was Naruto's fault, only his. Shikamaru was broken from his train of thought when he heard Ino stutter with despair. What do you mean we shouldn't see each other anymore? Don't you love me, Shika-kun? Shikamaru clasped Ino's hands in his as he sat him down on her couch, and he said with sincerity. Ino-chan, I will always love you, but you and I aren't meant to be. Your heart belongs to another, and I finally accept that. She shook her head insistently, tone pleading. I don't know what you mean. I love you. Shikamaru shook his head slowly. But you're in love with Naruto and have been since I forced you to break up with him. Ino turned her head away for fear her facial expression might betray her as she said chokingly. That's not true. You didn't force me to break up with Naruto, I chose you over him. A small sigh escaped the Nara. You chose me because I forced you to. When I came to you and told you that I was in love with you, you were with Naruto. But rather than give you the time to sort through your feelings and make a decision on your own, I basically gave you an ultimatum and asked you to choose. Just saying that made him feel so guilty. I admit that was a calculated act on my part. I was counting on the fact that our long-standing friendship would sway your heart to my favor, but I couldn't allow you to dwell on making a choice between the two of us, so I rushed your decision. Quote. She tried to cover her ears with her hands, but he held them firm. I'm so sorry I did that to you, Ino. It was selfish and self-serving on my part, and it wrong of me to do both to you and Naruto. Tears pulled in the back of her eyes. I hope you can forgive me, Ino. I never meant to hurt you or Naruto, but I did and I'm ashamed of myself for it. I just want you to be happy, and if Naruto does that for you, then you should be with him, not me. Abruptly, a mask of anger swept across her face, her blue eyes glinting dangerously, despite the broken tone in her voice. I can't believe you're telling me to go with Naruto. He almost killed you and Chuji just a few of days ago. The lazy Nara shrugged. Not really. If Naruto wanted us dead, we would be dead. He had us totally outclassed in power and skill. She blinked, not once, but twice as he went on, hanging on every word. I've even spoken to Chuji about this. I think the only reason he thrashed him as bad as he did was because Chuji tried to kill him thinking that Naruto had killed me. Oh. Shikamaru had no idea how much Ino wanted to believe that. I guess that makes sense. I didn't get the impression that he wanted to fight us, just to be left alone. Ino said before adding. But what can we do to bring him back? Misery washed away the anger, like sand at high tide. He seems to be in so much pain, and he's not listening to anyone anymore. Shikamaru lightly squeezed her hands. That's not true, Ino. He listened to you at the fight. Ino squeezed right back, but much harder, as the water began to leak from her eyes. I have a feeling that was a one-time pass, Shika-kun. The pain he's in, I'm the cause for a lot of it. Ino stated with sorrow, as a lone tear rolled down her cheek. Don't take all the blame yourself. I and many others had a hand in driving Naruto away. I only hope that one day he can forgive us. Sighing, he rose to his feet, releasing her hands as he did so. Well, you've got some packing to do if you're going after Naruto, so I should go. Shikamaru said, as he kisses Ino one last time before rising from the couch. Ino suddenly sprang up and groaned, as she remembered something. Oh no, I totally forgot. Lady Tsunade specifically ordered me not to go after Naruto-kun. What do I do? Shikamaru gazed at Ino and said with a smirk, as he noted that Ino had already gone back to referring to Naruto with an honorific. Well, when does the Ino Yamanaka I know let the orders of a mere Hokage stop her from getting what she wants? Ino just smiled before she and Shikamaru embraced in a hug. Her voice was a mere whisper. I do love you, the lazy bum that you are, Shika-kun. Are you going to be okay? He gave a rueful chuckle. I love you too, you troublesome woman, and I'll be fine. I just want you to be happy. Slowly, she released him, from what would be their last hug as a couple. Thanks, Shika-kun. Shikamaru nodded, then closed the door behind him and began walking home while Ino began frantically preparing supplies for her upcoming personal mission to find Naruto and bring him home and maybe back to her as well. Naruto and the rest of his party finally stopped to rest at a clearing. And while Daisuke went out in search of some more firewood, Hinata took Nell with her to get some water from a nearby stream. This left Naruto and Yugito alone, and Naruto decided now was as good a time as any to speak to his fellow Jinchuriki about Hinata and some other things, as they sat on a log in front of a small campfire and waited for the others to return. Look, Yugito, about Hinata I just wanted to say. You don't have say anything, Naruto-sama. I've had time to think about it and I realized you weren't going to leave her on her own, just like you didn't leave me on my own. Well, that's part of it, but You also have had a past relationship with her, but she betrayed you, I understand. It's partly why I don't care very much for the princess. Knowing she hurt you terribly in the past makes me angry for some reason. You're angry at her kitten because you're starting to fall for this delicious blonde hunk of man meat. Nibby purred inside Yugito's mind. Would you shut up? I'm not falling for him. Yugito silently snapped at her tenant. Okay. Then maybe you're mad at the princess because she's gotten a taste of that meat in the past and definitely would like some more. The two-tailed cat demon then sent several provocative and perverse images of what Naruto might be like in the sack, causing Yugito's face to blush furiously as a small rivulet of blood leaked from her nose. The former Cloud Kunoichi was broken out of her stupor by Naruto's voice. Yugito-chan, are you alright? Hi, I'm alright. My tenant just decided to have a few words with me, that's all. Yugito quickly stammered, as she wiped her nose. I can definitely understand that. Naruto replied in understanding before adding. Well, what I wanted to say was please try and get along with Hinata. I don't want the issues between her and me to involve you. She is a wonderful girl and I think you two could get along, if you don't let what happened to me in the past by Hinata affect how you treat her. Can you do this for me? Hi Naruto-sama, I will try and do this for you. Good. And another thing, I've told you before you don't have to call me Naruto-sama, Naruto will do just fine. Hi Naruto-sa. Naruto. Naruto chuckled, before his face grew serious and he took Yugito's hands into his, causing her to blush a bit, as he asked. Yugito, please don't take this question the wrong way, but how come Madara didn't kill you like the rest of the Jinchuriki he had captured prior to the Fourth Great Shinobi War? The blonde woman instantly let go of Naruto's hand and stood up with her back to him, while wrapping her arms around herself, dreading this moment of having to reveal the truth of her survival and of the shame that came with it to Naruto. After a couple of minutes of terse silence, she finally spoke in a choked voice. The reason I'm still alive is quite simple. After the Akatsuki captured me, they were going to extract the Nibi from my being. However, after Madara saw me he took a liking to me. And since it didn't matter what order the Biju needed to extract it, he decided I would be the last one after he finally captured the 8 and 9-tailed demons. Until then, he felt I could provide entertainment for himself and the rest of the Akatsuki members. You mean? Naruto stuttered in shock. That's right Naruto-sama. I mean Naruto. Standing before you is the whore of the Akatsuki. An unwilling whore, but a whore nonetheless these past 7 years. Yugito spat with bile, disgust, and shame, while tears rolled down her cheek. You are not a whore. Nibi screamed in anger at her vessel. It doesn't matter what you call me, now that he knows the truth, any thoughts you had of him and I being together is just a stupid fantasy. I'm used, dirty and he knows it now. Naruto isn't going to want to even look at me let alone touch me and I don't blame him one bit. Yugito fired back with grief at her two-tailed companion. However, what happened next shocked the former Cloud Kunoichi, as she was suddenly turned around and enveloped in a hug by Naruto. Yugito tried to pull away, but Naruto held her firm and after a few seconds of struggling, she finally succumbed to the embrace and softly wept into his chest, as he stroked her back and said in a sad yet comforting voice. I'm so sorry you had to suffer through such vile atrocities for all these years. I feel like it's my fault that you had to. When Uncle B and I along with the rest of the Shinobi Alliance took down Madara and his Edo Tensei army 7 years ago, we thought we were the only 2 Jinchuriki left still alive. Had we known that you were captured and alive, I swear we would come to rescue you Yugito-chan. Yugito couldn't believe what she was hearing. This man, this wonderful man was actually blaming himself for the fate that befell her all those years ago. What's more, there wasn't a hint of disgust for her in his voice or in the way he held her. Lifting her head and looking up at him with tear-filled eyes, she hesitantly asked. You're not disgusted by me. Naruto looked down at woman he held in his arms with confusion etched on his face before saying with bewilderment. Why would I be disgusted with you? You did nothing wrong and what happened to you no one should ever have to suffer. What Madara did to you only makes me want to kill him that much more. And I promise you once I get my hands on him, I will make him and the rest of the Akatsuki pay for what they did to you and all the other people they have hurt in this world once and for all. Upon hearing Naruto's declaration, Yugito did something she hadn't done for as long as she could remember. She smiled. Naruto saw her smile and tighten the embrace she held onto him and he leaned down to place a chaste kiss on top of her head as he held her. Unfortunately, at that very moment a voice called out as Hinata and Nell stepped out of the woods holding 2 jugs of water they had gathered. Naruto-kun, we've got the water and... Hinata instantly froze at the scene before her of Naruto in a deep embrace with Yugito and was kissing the top of her head. The Hyuga woman felt sick to her stomach and her heart seemed to constrict within her chest. It was all she could do not to drop Nell and the water before she set him down and stammered with tears welling in her eyes. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, I didn't mean to intrude on you, I'll go. Hinata then dashed back into the forest with Naruto calling out to her and Nell feeling very confused. Hinata, wait, was all Naruto could utter before Hinata had disappeared back into the darkness of the woods. Nell looked back at her adoptive father and being the clever and inquisitive child she was deduced that it was something her Naru-kun had done to make the lady with the pretty eyes sad. Nell had grown to like Hinata a lot in their short time together and was not pleased with this current situation, as one could easily see by the scowl that now adorned her face and she marched over to Naruto who looked down at her in puzzlement before yelping in great pain as the little Arrancar kicked him in his shin and shouted. What did you do to make the lady with the pretty eyes cry? Oh, Damn it, Nell, I didn't do anything. Naruto yelled back while hopping on one leg and holding the shin of the other. Liar. Nell shrieked at Naruto before winding up and kicking him in his other shin before adding. Hina-chan want crying before we got here, so you did Tomathing and you thouldn't cuth in front of Ladyth, it's not nice. Yugito and Daisuke, who had returned with the firewood, could only look in shock and awe as this little girl verbally admonished her adoptive father, while he writhed on the ground in pain holding both of his shins now. Nell then jumped onto Naruto and started headbutting his chest with her Arrancar mask and shouting at him. What did you do? Nell-chan, you stop fighting this instance. Hinata sternly called out, as she walked back into the clearing. Nell immediately stopped her attack and looked back to Hinata before jumping off of Naruto and running up to Hinata and jumping into her arms, while saying, "But Naru-kun made you cry. Nell don't like to see you cry, it maketh Nell very tad. Naruto-kun didn't make me cry, Nell-chan. It wasn't his fault, so you shouldn't blame him. And you most certainly shouldn't attack him. A lady like yourself should not get into fights." Both Naruto and Hinata then locked eyes with one another and Yugito realized they needed to talk and called out to Nell. "Hey Nell-chan, why don't you help me and Daisuke go collect some more firewood so Naruto-kun and the princess can talk?" "Firewood? I just brought back some firewood." Daisuke groused in annoyance before he felt a wave of killing intent wash over him from Yugito and said, "Right, let's go get some more firewood." As Yugito holding Nell and Daisuke walked back into the forest, Hinata made her way over to Naruto, who was still sitting on the ground and rubbing his shins. "I can heal that for you, Naruto-kun. It's alright, the Kyuubi will take care of it." Naruto coolly snapped in response. "Oh. Okay, I don't want to bother you." Hinata answered in a slightly hurt tone of voice. Naruto inwardly berated himself for snapping at Hinata and realized he needed to talk to her and said in a more calm tone. No, Hinata, it's not that, you're not bothering me. I just didn't want to trouble you or waste your chakra on something as insignificant as this. It's no trouble, Naruto-kun. Hinata stated, before she knelt down and going through some hand seals until her hands glowed green, began moving them over Naruto's shins. "Look, Hinata, about what you saw I just wanted to say. You don't have to say anything, I told you I believe you still have the capacity to love and be loved. You just need to find it in yourself to let love back into your life. I had hoped to help you find that love with me, but if you have found it with Yugito-chan, that's alright. I just want you to be happy again. It's not like that, I was just comforting Yugito-chan after she told me some things that were causing her some pain, that's all it was. I'm sorry if what you saw upset you. You don't have to apologize to me, it's I who should be apologizing to you. I had no right to react the way I did, not after what I did to you. Well, I just wanted to let you know that there isn't anything going on between me and Yugito-chan, that's all." Naruto sheepishly replied, while rubbing the back of his head nervously. "I appreciate that, Naruto-kun, but you don't have to explain anything to me." "Okay, I guess," Naruto answered, suddenly at a loss for words before finally saying, "My legs feel a lot better now, thanks Hinata, you learned your medical jutsus well from Bar-chan Tsunade." "Thank you, Naruto-kun," Hinata replied, while keeping her head bowed down. Naruto felt like he should say something else to the Hyuga girl kneeling in front of him, but he just didn't know what else to say. And before he could think of anything, Yugito, Nell, and Daisuke returned to the camp and Naruto watched as Hinata rose from the ground and walked away from him. After a brief rest in the clearing, Naruto and the rest of his party resumed their travel through the forest. Naruto noticed that Hinata was growing fatigued from carrying Nell and offered to carry his newly adopted daughter the rest of the way. As Nell snuggled up into his chest, she looked up at Naruto's face and quietly said, "Naru-kun, Nell is sorry that they yelled at you and kicked you. Can you forgive Nell?" "Of course I forgive you, Nell, let's just forget about it, okay?" "Okay, can I take Tomathing, Naru-kun?" "What is it, Nell?" "I really like Hina-chan and think she will be a good wife-chan for you," Nell exclaimed with childlike innocence and zeal, her smile outshining the sun. Naruto heard a squeak and looked over to see Hinata blushing furiously, just like the old days. Naruto himself sported a small blush and kissed his daughter's forehead before whispering, "I like her too, now go to sleep and we'll talk more about it tomorrow, okay?" "Okay, Naru-kun," Nell replied before drifting off to sleep. After a couple of more hours of travel, Naruto and company had finally reached the destination as Naruto declared. We're here. Where is here? I don't see anything. Daisuke hesitantly asked. Naruto ignored him, looking forward the entire time. Hinata, activate your Byakugan and tell me what you see. Hi Naruto-kun. Focusing the chakra to her eyes, the colors of the world faded away, to black and gray, as her range of vision expanded. Hinata then scanned the area with her famous Kekkei Genkai before saying. About 50 yards ahead, hidden by some foliage, there is an entranceway cut into that rock formation leading to what looks like a man-made cave. Naruto-kun. He nodded once, hand grasping the hilt of his blade in rich anxiety. Go on. With a nod in return she did so. There are a few traps surrounding the area, but we should be able to avoid them. Deactivating her bloodline limit, she paused, turning her head to give him an odd look and stating. But Naruto-kun, there is someone already in the cave, but for some reason my Byakugan can't focus on who they are. Naruto had expected as much. That's okay Hinata, I was told that there would be someone here to meet us. Just point out where the traps are and leave the rest to me. Stammering nervously, she resisted the urge to poke her fingers together as she once did so long ago. Oh. Okay. Naruto-kun, but if I may ask, what is this place? He unsheathed his blade now, and with a massive crash, it slammed into the earth, startling thousands of birds from their perches, in the rich foliage of the trees. As he reached for his demon mask, he answered her question. This is a former hideout of one Momoki Zabuza, the demon of the hidden mist. She nodded once, recalling the details of said nin. I remember you telling me about him. It was from your first ranked mission, wasn't Naruto-kun? But didn't you say he was dead? Hinata asked. A firm nod was given to her, as he began to pull the covering material upon his face. Yes, Zabuza is dead, but his Zanpakuto lives on. In fact, it's Zabuza's blade that I currently wield, and that man in there is going to help me unlock its true potential and power. As he said this, the mask slid smoothly upon his face, staining the whites of his eyes black, leaving his now eerily dark blue eyes to stare out at her. Yet unlike last time, they did not seem as cold. Frosty eyes, yes, but chilling to the soul with a lack of sincerity, not so much. I'll be honest, I don't know what to expect when we get inside. Naruto gave a small shrug, his tone nonchalant as he spoke with his regular voice, mutated by the mask but his nonetheless. Who knows? It could be dangerous, it could be harmless. Yugito noted that he only used that voice when he was royally poed. Not knowing why, he cast Hinata a worried look. This doesn't frighten you, does it, Hinata? Insistently, she shook her head. No, Naruto-kun, I trust you, and as long as I am with you, I'm not afraid. He looked at Yugito, and noted that unlike before, she did not flinch under his masked gaze. What about you, Yugito-chan? Do you have any problems with any of this? She shook her head once, a stark contrast to Hinata's insistence. No, Naruto, if you're sure about this, then so am I. Behind his mask, his mouth curved upward in a wicked grin. This caused the sharp teeth on the outside of his mask to curve upward as well. Well, let's go then. Hey, what about me? Don't you want my opinion? Daisuke asked. No, Naruto coldly stated, still quite annoyed with the man for looking at Hinata like that. Okay. Daisuke meekly replied, understanding that his standing with Zabuza's successor was far from good. And with the discussion officially over, everyone began walking towards the hidden hideout. But each person silently wondered to themselves what they would find when they got inside. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.